Picture this. You decide to grow clean food in your own backyard. Excited by the idea, you spend more than $600 on quality pipes, clean gravel, a new water pump, and a group of beautiful, expensive fish. You finish the setup, step back, and admire it. The water is crystal clear, the gravel looks perfect, and the fish swim through their new home. It feels like endless vegetables are just around the corner. But within 3 days, the water turns cloudy, the fish begin gasping at the surface, and your backyard oasis becomes an expensive graveyard. Why does this happen to so many enthusiastic beginners? Because they make one basic mistake. They build a structure from plastic, pipes, pumps, and stone, but forget to establish the living ecosystem that makes the entire system work. Now imagine turning your backyard into a self-sustaining, closed-loop food machine. A system that greatly reduces weeding and watering while recycling nutrients instead of relying on chemical fertilizers. This is aquaponics, the partnership between aquaculture, where fish are raised, and hydroponics, where plants grow in water without soil. In this video, we will uncover the secrets behind this backyard food machine. We will meet the invisible colonies of beneficial bacteria doing the real work, understand how automatic siphons move water through simple physics, and learn how fish and vegetables can support one another in a productive cycle. Are you ready to stop fighting nature and start working with it? Let's dive in. Part 1. The modern backyard dilemma. Disconnected cycles versus the connected loop. Look around the modern backyard. Lawns demand constant watering. Ornamental fish ponds need regular filtration and water changes. And vegetable beds are repeatedly fed with synthetic fertilizers from the store. Each part works alone. Resources move in one direction, while waste is simply discarded. Traditional agriculture has supported us for thousands of years, but it also comes with a heavy price. It uses large amounts of water, gradually depletes the soil, and requires endless labor. Tilling, weeding, carrying heavy soil, watering, and spraying chemical pesticides. Now look at nature from another angle. In a natural pond, nobody fertilizes the wild watercress. Nobody weeds the banks, yet the water stays clean and plants continue growing freely. The reason is simple. Nature depends on connected cycles. Aquaponics copies that natural pattern. It creates a closed loop where the waste from one living organism becomes valuable nourishment for another. By combining recirculating fish farming with soil-free plant growing, we create a small, integrated ecosystem right in the backyard. The efficiency is remarkable. A well-designed aquaponic system can use up to 90% less water than conventional soil gardening. Instead of disappearing into dry ground, the water circulates continuously between the fish and the plants, with most losses coming only from evaporation and plant transpiration. Why let valuable water and nutrients run straight toward the drain when they can be redirected into a productive circle that supports fish, plants, and fresh food again and again? Part 2. Meet the invisible cast, the chemistry and biology of the living filter. To most people, aquaponics looks like a fish tank connected to a box of plants. But the most important biological process in this entire system is invisible to the naked eye. The real heroes are the microorganisms that form the conversion team. Whenever you feed the fish, they produce waste. More than half of that waste is released as toxic ammonia through their gills and urine. If ammonia builds up, even at low levels, it can damage the gills, slow growth, weaken the fish, and quickly become fatal. In a healthy, established grow bed, naturally occurring nitrifying bacteria live on every wet pebble. Together, they operate a precise two-stage biological filter. First, ammonia-oxidizing bacteria, mainly from the Nitrosomonas group, consume the toxic ammonia. With the help of dissolved oxygen, they convert it into nitrite. But nitrite is still highly dangerous. It interferes with the blood's ability to carry oxygen, leaving fish under severe stress even when the water appears well aerated. That is when the second group takes over. Nitrite-oxidizing bacteria, commonly associated with Nitrobacter, transform nitrite into nitrate. Nitrate is much safer for fish and is also one of the main nutrients plants need. As plant roots absorb it, they help clean the water before it circulates back to the fish tank. There is another useful worker in this invisible community, the composting red worm. When red wigglers are added to a gravel grow bed, they move between the stones and consume solid fish waste, decaying roots, and other organic material. They break this waste into rich vermicompost, releasing valuable micronutrients for the plants and helping prevent excessive buildup inside the bed. This is what makes aquaponics so remarkable. Fish, bacteria, worms, and plants work together day and night. Each living part supports the next, creating a quiet cycle of waste conversion, water cleaning, and continuous growth. Part 3. The vessels of life, sizing, materials, and the genius of barrelponics. Now that we understand the biology, we need to build the physical body of the system. Beginners do not have to spend thousands of dollars on commercial equipment. A productive setup can be made from affordable, widely available materials such as IBC totes or food-grade plastic drums. Before buying any container, always investigate its history. Never use black barrels or tanks from questionable sources. These containers are often used for industrial chemicals, and dangerous residues may leach into the water, fish, and vegetables. Choose food-grade white or blue containers from reliable sources, such as food processing businesses, wineries, or olive facilities. Make sure their previous contents are known and safe before bringing them into the system. One of the most famous low-cost designs is barrelponics, a system that helped inspire backyard growers around the world. This practical concept was created and freely shared by Travis Huey. He served as a police officer in Texas for 34 years and was also a biologist with a passion for sustainable technology. His design used recycled 55-gallon barrels to create a compact and productive food system. For a basic setup, one barrel is cut lengthwise into 2 strong grow beds. A second barrel is left intact and used as the fish tank. When arranging the system, follow the golden hydrology rule. Maintain at least a 1-to-1 volume ratio between the fish tank and the grow beds. As the pump moves water upward to flood the gravel beds, the water level inside the fish tank drops. If the beds are too large compared with the tank, the pump can drain the tank dangerously low, leaving the fish crowded, exposed, or gasping near the bottom. To connect the containers, use bulkhead fittings, threaded male and female adapters, and rubber O-rings. Pass the fitting through a snug opening. Place an O-ring on each side and tighten the connection firmly by hand. When installed properly, this creates a strong, watertight seal that prevents leaks and keeps the system operating reliably for years. Part 4. The Symphony of Water, Demystifying Siphons and the Great Water Balancing Act. How can water repeatedly fill and drain a grow bed without electronic timers or expensive valves? The traditional flood and drain system, the answer comes from gravity and pressure through a device called an automatic siphon. The most popular version is the Bell siphon. It has no moving mechanical parts and needs no electricity of its own. At the center of the grow bed is a vertical pipe called the standpipe. Its height determines the maximum water level, which should normally remain 1 to 2 inches below the surface of the gravel. Keeping the upper layer dry helps reduce algae growth. A wider capped pipe, called the bell, fits over the standpipe like a hat. Small slots near its base allow water to enter. Around the bell sits a perforated media guard that keeps gravel, roots, and debris from blocking the siphon. As the pump continuously sends water into the bed, the level rises both around and inside the bell. When it reaches the top of the standpipe, water begins flowing down the drain. That falling water pulls air from beneath the sealed bell and creates a vacuum. The pressure difference produces strong suction, and a full siphon begins. Water is rapidly drawn from the bottom of the grow bed and discharged through the standpipe much faster than the pump can replace it. The bed then drains, allowing fresh air to enter the spaces around the roots and beneficial bacteria. But the siphon must stop once the bed is nearly empty. If the vacuum does not break, water may continue leaving as a slow trickle. The grow bed will fail to refill properly, and the plants will no longer receive a normal flood and drain cycle. A useful solution is the snorkel tube, often called the Better Bell siphon. A flexible tube is attached near the top of the bell and extended toward the bottom, creating a separate air passage. Its lower end sits inside a small PVC cap that acts like a tiny reservoir. As the water level falls, this little cup empties rapidly. The snorkel then pulls in a large gulp of air before the main bell can do so. That sudden burst of air destroys the vacuum, often producing a noticeable burp, and stops the siphon cleanly. The grow bed can empty fully, draw oxygen deep into the root zone, and then begin filling again. When properly balanced, this simple arrangement protects roots from remaining waterlogged, supports the bacterial colony, and creates a reliable rhythm of flooding, draining, and oxygen renewal. Part 5. Choosing your aquatic partners, fish selection, and the rule of restraint. Now let's talk about the living engine of the backyard food machine, the fish. Choosing them is not only about what you enjoy eating. The species must match your local climate and your commitment to maintaining good water quality. In warm regions, Nile tilapia, or Oreochromis niloticus, is the leading aquaponic choice. Tilapia are extremely hardy and can tolerate temperature changes, small pH shifts, low dissolved oxygen, and relatively high ammonia levels. They are omnivorous, eating commercial pellets, duckweed, and suitable vegetables from the system. Under good conditions, they can reach table size in roughly 6 to 9 months. For cooler backyards, yellow perch or Perca flavescens may be a better match. They thrive in water between 68 and 74 degrees Fahrenheit and are also valued as a marketable food fish. In cold climates, rainbow trout or Oncorhynchus mycus can become an excellent winter partner. They prefer cold water, and their high-protein diet provides rich nitrogen for leafy vegetables. However, trout are carnivorous, require very high dissolved oxygen, and are extremely sensitive to poor water quality. They demand much closer management than tilapia. If you are vegetarian or mainly want an attractive backyard display, koi and goldfish are excellent options. They are hardy, can live for many years, and add brilliant color and movement to the garden. You can even raise giant river prawns along the bottom of suitable tanks, where they help consume fallen organic matter. Whatever species you choose, the most important aquaponic rule is restraint. A new system should never be filled immediately with 100 fish. The biological filter is still immature and cannot process such a heavy waste load. It first needs a cycling period of about 3 to 6 weeks so the bacterial colony can become established. A fishless cycle can be started with tiny, controlled amounts of ammonia, ammonium chloride, or properly aged urine. This last approach is sometimes called Aquaponics and is used as an organic cycling method. If you cycle with fish, begin with only about 20% of the intended maximum stocking density. Cheap, hardy feeder goldfish are commonly used first, and feeding must remain extremely light, no more than 1 tablespoon per day for every 500 liters of growing media. Monitor the water carefully. When ammonia and nitrite fall to zero while nitrate begins rising steadily, the system has officially completed its cycle. Only then should you increase fish numbers and feeding gradually. In aquaponics, patience at the beginning protects the fish, stabilizes the water, and prepares the system for safe expansion. Part 6. From seed to salad, the dashboard crops and the fruiting climbers. Once the water has completed its cycle and nutrients are moving through the system, it is time to start planting. In aquaponics, roots do not need to search through dry soil for moisture or food. Warm, nutrient-rich water reaches them continuously, allowing the plants to direct more energy into producing leaves, stems, and new growth. Under good conditions, some crops can grow 4 to 6 times faster than they would in a conventional soil garden. When starting a new system, begin with what I call dashboard crops. These are quick-growing leafy plants, such as lettuce, spinach, and basil. They are easy to observe and often reveal changes in the system before more demanding crops begin to struggle. Lettuce is one of the simplest choices. Its shallow roots adapt well to aquaponic beds, and some varieties may be ready to harvest in about 30 days. It also acts like a living indicator. If the water temperature rises above 80 degrees Fahrenheit, lettuce may bolt, become bitter, and warn you that the fish tank or growing area needs more shade. Basil is another outstanding aquaponic crop. It responds strongly to the nitrogen found in fish water, grows rapidly, and can provide repeated harvests when trimmed correctly. After the system has matured, usually around 6 months, its nutrient supply becomes richer and more stable. At that stage, you can begin growing heavier feeding fruiting crops such as determinate tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, and climbing strawberries. These plants form flowers and fruit, so they demand more nutrition than leafy greens. Leaf crops may require roughly 40 to 50 grams of fish feed per square meter of growing area each day, while fruiting crops may need around 50 to 80 grams to support strong production. Use simple bamboo trellises or wooden stakes to guide vines upward and away from the beds. Vertical training makes better use of limited space, improves air circulation, and can turn a small backyard system into a highly productive vegetable growing area. Part 7. The Silent Sentinels. Vital signs, compromise ranges, and the test kit. To operate a successful backyard food system, you must become a quiet observer of the water. Fish may not show obvious trouble until conditions are already dangerous, so learning to read the system's vital signs is essential. A basic freshwater master test kit is one of the most useful tools you can own. Every week, test and record 5 important measurements: pH, ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, and water temperature. Written records help you notice gradual changes that are easy to miss from one day to the next. The challenge in aquaponics is that fish, plants, and nitrifying bacteria do not all prefer exactly the same conditions. Warm water fish generally perform well within a pH range of about 6.5 to 8.5 and prefer warmer water. Plants usually favor a slightly acidic range of about 5.5 to 6.5, where many nutrients remain easier for their roots to absorb. Nitrifying bacteria work best in somewhat more alkaline conditions, commonly around pH 7.2 to 8.2, along with warm, oxygen-rich water. The solution is not to create perfect conditions for only one group. We aim for a practical compromise that keeps the entire living system functioning. A useful target is a pH between 6.0 and 7.0, with water temperatures between 18 and 30 degrees Celsius. Within this range, beneficial bacteria can continue converting waste, fish can remain healthy, and plants can access important nutrients such as iron, calcium, and magnesium. Never overlook the most urgent vital sign of all: dissolved oxygen. Fish need oxygen to breathe, and beneficial bacteria need it to perform nitrification. Aim to keep dissolved oxygen above 5 parts per million whenever possible. If fish gather near the surface and gasp for air, a behavior often called piping, treat it as an emergency. Oxygen may have fallen to a dangerous level, and fish can die quickly. Add strong aeration immediately with air stones, a splash bar return, or any method that creates vigorous contact between the water and air. Part 8. The Resilient Farmyard. Maintenance, emergency safeguards, and real-world lessons. A balanced backyard aquaponic system can be remarkably resilient and may require only 10 to 20 minutes of routine attention each day. But long-term success depends on preparing for failures before they happen. Consider a power outage. The pump stops, water circulation ends, and oxygen levels in the fish tank begin to fall. In a heavily stocked system, this can become dangerous very quickly. A battery-powered backup aerator is one of the best safeguards you can install. These affordable devices can switch on when electricity fails and keep oxygen moving through the water until power returns. During an outage, stop feeding the fish immediately. Fish that are not digesting food produce less waste and place less pressure on the biological filter. You must also protect the plumbing from an accidental siphon. When installing a return line near the top of the fish tank, drill a small hole about 2 to 3 millimeters wide in the PVC elbow close to the normal water level. If the pump stops and a vacuum begins to form, this opening draws in air and breaks the siphon before the tank can drain onto the ground. It is a tiny detail, but it can save the entire stock of fish. As the system runs, nitrification naturally produces acid and gradually lowers the pH. To help buffer this change and keep the water near pH 6.8 to 7.0, place crushed eggshells, seashells, or limestone inside a mesh bag in the sump tank. These calcium carbonate materials dissolve slowly as conditions become more acidic, helping stabilize the water without sudden chemical changes. If plant leaves begin turning yellow or showing nutrient deficiencies, remember that fish feed may not supply every mineral normally found in soil. The water may need carefully measured supplements. Chelated iron can be added periodically to support deep green leaf growth. Calcium and potassium hydroxide may also be used in controlled amounts to support fruiting crops while helping adjust pH. Experienced growers also watch closely for sudden nitrite spikes. If testing confirms dangerous nitrite, a small, correctly measured dose of non-iodized sea salt or pool salt may provide temporary protection. Chloride ions compete with nitrite at the fish's gills, reducing the amount that enters the bloodstream while the bacterial colony catches up. The harmony of the eternal loop. The greatest lesson of this backyard food machine is that nature does not thrive through isolated, one-way systems of consumption and waste. Real abundance appears when separate processes are connected into a living cycle. Instead of seeing the backyard as a collection of unrelated chores, we can begin to see it as one working organism. In aquaponics, every pebble, every drop of water, every fish, every root, and every microscopic bacterium contributes to the survival of the whole system. When you learn to work with this circle of life, the reward goes beyond fresh fish and clean vegetables. You gain the confidence that comes from understanding how natural systems support themselves. Growth does not always need to be forced. Our job is to create the right conditions, maintain balance, and allow life to do what it has always done: adapt, cooperate, and flourish season after season. Thank you for watching Farmyard Care. If this journey inspired you, subscribe to the channel, share your backyard setup in the comments, and send this video to someone who enjoys growing food. Until next time, keep the water moving, the fish healthy, and the garden productive. I will see you in the next loop.